Welcome back to the class, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about roster building once again, more specifically 5 Galactic Legend farming rules. The reason why we're making this video today is because I want to make, and I will make, a Galactic Legend efficiency order, like the order you need to farm them that is best for your roster that can build them out. But the more that I looked into it, the more clauses or reasons to not do the way that I was going to do it. So we're still going to make that. We're still going to make, the most efficient way to farm Galactic Legends, who comes first, who comes last, etc. But before we do that, we need to address several topics within it that can change that order. That being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So number 1, this is a very important rule that we all need to understand. Galactic Legends do not suck. This rhetoric kind of exists out there in the game because it kind of sells better. It's a more fun way to talk about things, but it's really just not true. One of the things that CG has done, and this is actually really genius on their part, while some Galactic Legends, I would say, intrinsically have more value all around than other ones, no Galactic Legend out there is a better or worse version than another Galactic Legend. I think JMK and JML are actually a really cool duo to look at when it comes to this, because when you look at JMK, he is, the best character or the best team to have on defense in PvP, but there are some things that Jedi Master Luke can do better than he can. The biggest example that comes to my mind right away is using him in Conquest to work out those really pesky feats that, CG is requiring you to use a bunch of characters that you don't have geared, and you don't really have a way around it. So what you can do is you can take them in there, you can either put them with Watt, or just use Voluntary Vanguard, and you can use a way to, for example, get a bunch of kills with Inquisitors. This is a way that Jedi Master Luke is essentially better than JMK in a very specific way. So again, all this to say, if you farm Lord Vader, or if you farm Rare, you farm whoever, and you're looking back and you're like, that wasn't a good decision, this character is worthless, that's just not true. Every single Galactic Legend brings something to the table and excels in a way that none of the other 5 do. That's actually pretty good rewards. So when we're looking at this, none of them suck. All 6 of them are the best 6 characters in game, and there's really no way around that. And that should really give a little bit of comfort too, even if you went on after a Galactic Legend that a lot of people hate, or that you hated for a long time, they do have their niche somewhere out there. That being said, let's go to rule number 2. Follow your heart. This is a little weird for me to be talking about, but it is actually very important. We recently did a video with AP Gains, and one of the things that he talked about as far as Galactic Legends go is the will to live factor that you have to factor in, not just money or time when you're looking at farming something, but Galactic Legends, they take a long time to go after to be able to farm one up from scratch. It's like on average maybe 6 months. And let's say you just absolutely hated the prequels, you thought that they kind of stomped on the original trilogy, they weren't that good, and you don't want to go after, say, Lord Vader or JMK. You should really follow your heart in that sense, because you have to spend 6 months not only going after a character that you don't want just because, someone else told you to, or because you're being told it's the most efficient thing to do, and not only that, but also farming up all the wrecks that revolve around them instead of going a character that you genuinely want that isn't, doesn't have the overall value that, say, JMK does. Go after the Galactic Legend you want to go after, whether it be Rey, whether it be C, whether it be Lord Vader. Like we previously said, none of them are bad. You might not get as much value out of one as the other, but you're still going to get a very good character, and it's very important that you at least, at a minimum, like said character. So follow your heart. Number 3, follow your roster. So this one is a little bit more complicated, and there's no real true standard or true metric as to where you have to draw a line like this. But what do I mean by follow your roster? So we had follow your heart, which is really just what you want to do. But all of us, in one way or the other, we've all built up our rosters to be what they are. And with the amount of Galactic Legend that there are nowadays, the recs or the requirements for the Galactic Legends are all spread out. And it's very likely that you already actually have some of the requirements already done for some Galactic Legends, and it can be more beneficial while, let's say, and this is going to be a really good example that we're going to bring up. I actually think that Kylo Ren, and we'll get more to this in the next video, is the most efficient GL to go after first. I think you get a ton of value from him in PvP, a ton of value from him for PvE. He has very good Omicrons of the sort, so I would label him the most efficient GL, and again, we'll have a whole video about that. But that being said, if your roster looks like this, and absolutely no shade if your roster looks like this, that is completely fine. That's not efficient. Like, you don't have any of the characters geared to go after Kylo. It's not necessarily a wise move. So again, we're gonna make a video on this. Kylo's gonna be first, so spoiler alert there. That really doesn't apply to this person, because if you go ahead and shout out to, this is actually Canucks roster, a good friend of ours. He has he's able to do a lot of really cool things with it. That being said, for him, if we look at Jabba, he's already got Boba Fett R8, already past the limit. Fennec R7, already at the limit. Han Solo, only one relic level away. Gear 11 Greedo, already closer than every single First Order character that he has. So, while I can sit here and say, yes, Kylo Ren is the most efficient Galactic Legend, he's the most best bang for your buck, for this player, that's not necessarily true. If you're already halfway there because of the way you've built your roster for, whatever reason it is, then that's the better one to go for. So, it's not just a question of knowing or following your heart, but it's also a question of following your roster. You have to kind of know what is going to go well with what you already have, what can you take advantage of to be able to further yourself instead of, starting from scratch on another Galactic Legend. Won't apply to everyone because there's a lot of newer players out there. Next up, know your limitations. This is very important. Most of the Galactic Legends, not all of them, but most of them have a few things within their kits, or not within their kits, but within the requirements that for some people are just flat out not obtainable. I think probably the clearest example that I have for this, and this applies mostly to the JMK requirements, is the fact that you need Wat Tambor at Relic 7. If the guild you're in isn't getting any Wat Tambor shards, and you don't want to leave them, you don't want to kind of make that workaround, JMK really isn't a viable option for you. Again, I believe he's a very efficient GL to go after towards the very beginning, but if you don't even have access to him, you're really just, you're playing with nothing. You can build up the other Rex as much as you want, you can get them as far ahead. It's not actually going to make a difference if you don't get the last requirement. You don't get to have a worse JMK, you just don't get JMK. There are other examples of this in the later GLs, specifically with R8s. If your guild has no way to beat Cranecore, and as well, if you don't, spend money on the game to be able to buy those packs or whatever, you're not gonna have access to them. So, that cuts out Lord Vader, that immediately cuts out JMK, that even cuts out our new Jabba the Hutt Galactic Legend that's out there. And there are other things too with Jedi Master Luke. To be able to get Jedi Master Luke, you need Jedi Knight Luke. To be able to get Jedi Knight Luke, you need Rolo, you need Wampa, you need Hoda. They're all also behind different walls than just farming. So it's, again, unwise to start your path down for a Galactic Legend that has a limitation that the way your game or the way that you've been playing is built doesn't currently support. So while, again, JML is a very efficient Galactic Legend, the requirements are very, very good. If you don't have access to all of them to actually be able to pull this off, you're not going to be able to get a lot of, efficient bang for your buck with him. That being said, that is our fourth rule. Let's go on to our fifth. Number 5, don't follow Datacrons. This really should go without saying. It's probably the most obvious thing on this list. And the reason why is because there's a lot of broken Datacrons out there right now. Lord Vader, at the time this video is being launched, is currently kind of the new king of the hill. Before him, it was Rey. She had a really good Datacron. Like we previously mentioned, Galactic Legends take, on average, depending on where you are and what your playstyle is, about 6 months to farm. Datacrons last 4 months. And even if you're kind of already halfway there, I know when they released the Rey Datacron, I was already halfway into farming her, and I couldn't just, push it harder and get her. Like, I legitimately unlocked Rey maybe a week before that Datacron fully ended. So it's really hard to base your choices off of that. And I wouldn't even, right now, there doesn't even seem to be a precedent for, when they're going to be released. They don't have them on, like, a specific cadence of, say, JMK, then Rey, then JML, then C, at least as far as we know. So it's really something that you shouldn't be making bets on, unless you're legitimately maybe, like, one character away. And that kind of goes back to follow your roster. If you're already 1 or 2 characters away from getting the Galactic Legend, you probably should have them anyways. And again, unless it conflicts with, our other rules here to follow. So that really does make up the majority of the video. Remembering, Galactic Legends don't suck. They all excel at different things. There's going to be a lot more specifics in that. Again, we're going to make a completely different video talking about the most efficient order in which to farm or to get Galactic Legends, and we'll kind of highlight where each one of them really is very good, where they shine, and also where they kind of fall short. But none of them are bad. They are the 6 best characters in the entire game, fairly objectively. Number 2, follow your heart. Don't go after a Galactic Legend that, is the greatest or whatever if you hate the character and you are going to not enjoy your life for the next 6 months to a year, however long it takes you to farm them. Because when you get them, there's not going to be as much payoff unless, you know, the character you hate more is the counter. That, I guess, maybe probably feels good. Number 3, follow your roster. You really need to pay attention to what you already have going, see who already have relicked, who already is at 7 stars. That could be very challenging to do otherwise. We use Wat Tambor. That was a pretty good example of that. Number 4, know your limitations. Pay attention to relic levels, pay attention to characters that are gated behind certain things. One of the ones I didn't mention, but it's also probably important, is for Kylo and Rey. You need both of the capital ships for the respective factions at 5 stars. That can take a while to do, especially if you're, say, 6 months out on farming the requirements that are required for the capital ship that is required for the Galactic Legend. Kind of have to do some math there to see where you're at. And finally, don't follow Datacrons. They change too rapidly. We don't have a way to track them. Again, unless you're like 1 or 2 characters away, that really shouldn't be what makes your decision on who you want to go after. And again, if you're already 1 or 2 characters away anyways, you should probably doing that just because of rule number 3. But that is going to be it for today, guys. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if there's anything we missed, anything we had to add. And yeah, we will, don't know when exactly it'll be coming up, but we will have a new video talking about the most efficient way to farm or, you know, gear up the Galactic Legend. But that is going to be it for today. So remember to like and subscribe, and as always, stay awesome.